Welcome back. Now, normally you see me buttoned up, sitting behind my desk, but today I'm on the road, so I'm keeping it real, because this video is about keeping it real, or when you may need to be a Debbie Downer at work. Debbie Downer? Well, in the video, I'll talk about two things. One is talking about the bad parts of a role or even organization, and two is thinking about those bad parts. And what do I mean by bad parts? Well, when you're recruiting for a new role, oftentimes people want to talk to candidates about all the good things and tell them what they want to hear. This job will have great autonomy, you can take time off. Sure, there's opportunities for promotions. We provide plenty of training. But when candidates get into those roles, or existing employees are even put into new roles within the organization, it may not meet expectations. And that kind of disconnect can cause a lot of things, from lack of engagement, meaning the effort someone wants to put forth, or attrition. Someone may choose to leave because they feel like they were sold a bag of goods. So it's really important to talk about the bad parts of a job or organization. Now, bad parts can mean things like in sales, for example. If you're hiring for an account executive role, then oftentimes account executives may want to know if there's cold calling involved. I did cold calling at the beginning of my career. It's one of the best things I did to brace myself for corporate America and learn really critical skills. But I think back on those, and I'm glad it's in the past. So a lot of sales employees do not want to get involved in cold calling. They may have a different system and have people set appointments for them. And so if they had to cold call, that'd be really critical information. So aspects like that are important for sales, and lots of roles have those, like IT. Are there times that IT support is going to need to be on call, even if it's not their assigned shift? Things like that are really important. And in an organization overall, aspects like taking time off. Is there an organizational-wide expectation that when people take time off, you can put an out-of-office off and have other people handle things? There are some organizations where people are discouraged from having out-of-offices and are expected to remain on and respond to communications. So those types of things are really critical to an employee's experience. So thinking about those aspects of any job, whether you're hiring for it or you're considering internal employees for it, so thinking about what those aspects are that may not be so desirable to employees day to day. Now, how do you learn about those things? Well, you can talk to employees. Sure, there's exit interviews, but also stay interviews. Talking to employees and asking, is this actual experience lined up with what you expected? And asking employees for their honest feedback. It takes a lot of trust, because rarely do employees think, if I say something, is nothing going to happen with it, or what's going to happen to me? So making sure you're in a position of trust, but talking to employees to really get an understanding of what they thought the role would be like and what it's like on paper or in reality. The other is about organizational-wide. Sometimes looking at things like Glassdoor. As you're reading things, frequently people will say, well, you can't trust anything that's on there because people only put negative things. It's like restaurant reviews. And sure, that can be true. But you can also at times look at reviews and see really veins of truth. So are you seeing common themes come through? It can be a helpful exercise to go to Glassdoor or any of those sites like that that provide employer reviews and really take an objective look. Are there things that not only are driving employees out the door, but also may encourage employees who are interviewing or applicants that are interviewing from even being interested in your organization? So trying to think objectively about that. So for any role and overall the organization. Then how do you talk about those things? Whether it's in an interview setting, just being realistic about the role. Saying to candidates, I want to paint you a picture of what it's like. You may have questions and you're free to ask, but I also want to proactively tell you about the realities of it so you know what to expect. And then talking about things. So talking about meetings that can come up, deadlines, or when people take time off, what that's like. Proactively providing that information to candidates shows a massive amount of transparency. But let's think about the bad aspects of that role. Talking about those in interviews. That doesn't sound fun, does it? So that's why the second step is thinking about those things. So if you think about roles, whether there's something in particular, like your IT department is having a massive amount of turnover because they are expected to be on call frequently, getting inundated during time they expected to be time off. Is that driving people out of the role? Are there other aspects of individuals that started in a role and it's completely different? So that's why those stay interviews are important, meaning interviews with existing employees, to see what things are due so you can minimize those bad things. So you don't just talk about them, but you change what you can. And the other is organizational wide. When you look at those things on Glassdoor, rather than just talking about things and saying to people, well, yes, when you're on vacation, you are expected to check in regularly. If that's the expectation, it's important for people to know that. But also, a lot of people have gone through that experience. where they're on vacation and the family, friends are all having fun, and that employee is sitting there tethered to their laptop and getting rolled eyes and frustrations from the people they're supposed to be on vacation with. That type of experience can be really difficult. And another, is it really necessary? So, not just talking to candidates and employees about the bad parts of work, but thinking about those and what you can do to change them for all sorts of employees, from the corporate level to frontline to those employees on their feet, what you can do to make that actual experience one that people want to stay in. So that's why keeping it real, being a Debbie Downer, doesn't mean going around like Eeyore. It means taking a really objective, critical look at the aspects of any role on your team and the overall organization, and talking to other leaders to say, this is feedback we've gotten. What are things that we have to live with because they're realities of the roles, or things that we have to do as a business, but what are things we can change so that we're not just talking about these and painting a picture, but we're actually changing these for the better?